radiante de felicidad va caminando.
All right, welcome to the Betting News Network right here on YouTube. Thanks for stopping by for the Violence Report. We're going to be talking all about UFC Noche this weekend in San Antonio. That is Tristan Vieira. That's Trizzy Betts. My name is Sweatpan Jesus. Stoked to have you guys with us. We're missing our third horseman, Mr. Sukbar, today, but you got the two of us to talk all about the violence. Excited to get into it with you guys right here on YouTube. Thanks for stopping by. Give us a like and a subscribe on the channel if this is your first time being here. If you like betting the UFC and hanging out with us today, Triz will also be with us on Saturdays on BetSpresso if you want to come for some live stuff as well, talking all about sports betting and all the vibes. Triz, excited to talk some more violence with you, man. Excited to going to be a fun card here in San Antonio this weekend for Noche. We were talking about this before we got started. This card was originally supposed to be in Mexico, but then it got moved to San Antonio. So what happened with that before we kind of jump into the violence?
Yeah, man. So I've heard some stuff, like some conflicting things. Supposedly they wanted to have it at the UFC PI down in Mexico, but it's not ready yet, or it can't hold as many fans as they wanted to. So they moved it back into the United States, into San Antonio, which is like, a big Mexican population over there, you would say. But I mean, I don't know if it does, but Dana White's also promoting Crawford versus Canelo this weekend on the same day as this event. I don't know if it would have been in the best interest of the UFC to hold a pay-per-view that Dana White is also promoting against another pay-per-view that Dana White is also promoting. Probably bad for sales. So I mean, I don't know how much that exactly correlates, but probably something of the two, maybe a little bit of both, but so
hey man, as we've talked about with these things, none of this is never for nothing. So there was probably something to do with that for sure mentioned. Also, if you guys like boxing, you can check out Trizzy's analysis for that big matchup this weekend at bettingnews.com for free. Trizzy doesn't only cover the UFC for us, he also covers the big boxing events too. So it's going to be a fun card, man. Before we jump into it, anything that kind of stands out to you? Obviously, I love Lopes. I'm a big Lopes guy, so I'm excited to hear you talk about this main event near the end of this card. Just as a whole, before we jump in, what are some things you're looking forward to on this card?
To me, this card just as I went through fight by fight, as I do every single week, this card just screams violence to me. Each and every one of these fights, and I don't mean exactly finishes. Two guys or two women, sort of say, that are just going to kind of meet in the middle and engage. They're not going to kind of dance around, or there's not going to be. I don't see too many grapple fests on these on the fight card this weekend. I think it's going to be a very exciting card. It may be free, maybe not a pay-per-view, maybe really only top heavy, we'll say, with the main event being the two biggest superstars on the card. Should be that way, but this one's just like really lopsided. But I mean, if you really dig into these matchups, they should be some very entertaining and exciting fights. I'm excited to watch it on Saturday, and it's kind of an earlier start time too, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say you're probably going to be sitting back watching some college football, and then bang, you're going to get to watch some violence at like 1:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday versus having to wait until the end of the day. So it feels kind of like some of those pay-per-views that are overseas, but just over here in America. So you're getting kind of the best of both worlds a little bit. All right, well, without further ado, if this is your first time being here, again, thanks for being here. Give us a like and subscribe on the channel. And if you're first time being here, you're about to listen to this guy break down every single fight for you guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's get straight to it. Let's go into the preliminary rounds and talk about what we're going to see on Saturday. I'll give you guys a preface here. Triz doesn't have a lot of thoughts on this one, but I'll set it up anyway. Rodrigo Cezinado versus Daniil Donchenko. Minus 210 is Donchenko. Plus 168 is Cezinado. Anando. I didn't even really learn the guy's name because you didn't really say you had a lot of thoughts on this one. So what are we looking at here?
No, man. So I didn't really get it. This is a tough fight, I believe. I don't know if it's the tough finale or what's going on here. I haven't watched the tough season, so admittedly, I didn't do too much research on this fight. It does kind of look like a younger hype prospect, 24 years old, taking a little bit more of an experienced guy. So we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm going to watch it, take some notes, kind of just put it in the memory bank for the future. But I just haven't gotten a chance to dig into these guys, and I don't want to spew out a random opinion or steer anybody the wrong way when I don't even know what I'm talking about. So
Hey man, transparency. This fight's one of those you crack a beverage maybe at 3:10 Eastern on Saturday before when this one gets rocking and rolling. Take in some tape, like you said. Maybe somebody makes a name for themselves in this one, and we get rocking and rolling. So let's go straight into then the next fight after that: Alice Pereira versus Montserrat Rendon. Rendon plus 124, a little bit of a dog here. Minus 152 is Pereira, not Alex Pereira. Alice Pereira, a little bit of a different one. What are we looking at in this fight?
No relation. No relation.
Wait,
Alex
wild.
Pereira,
Crazy.
Alex Pereira does have a sister, but her name is Eileen, not Alice. So,
wow.
But still a very hyped prospect. I have to make sure I say this right. I think she's like 19 or 20 years old or something like that. It's going up here. Let me just make sure. I believe she's 19.
It would be also criminal for her parents or their parents to name the one kid Alex and the other one Alice. So good job on the Pereira parents to not do that to their kids, you know?
Yeah. Just be like, I mean, my brother's name's Trevor. So it's like, it was all the time when we were kids. I like know that firsthand experience. She is 19. So before I speak out of tone, she's 19. Which very young for the UFC, very green, I would say. You know, only 5 professional fights, but from what I have seen on her tape, is she's a massive body for this division. She might only be 19 to 20, but I don't think many women in this weight class are going to have that like grown, you know, like that grown woman's strength or that grown man's strength that we say, like, you know, a big.
Of course.
They might be fighting in the same weight class, but if one's 32 and one's 20, their muscles are built just a tad different. Alice is so big. I don't really know if anybody in that division is really gonna like kind of oversize her like that. So I think this is kind of set up for her in certain aspects here. Pereira seems to me like a prospect that UFC would want to get behind and will get behind and is trying to get behind. It's kind of tough for me to lay chalk. She's 19, debuting fighter. I've seen these people. I've seen these so many fighters over the years just kind of drop the ball in their debut or get caught under the lights in their debut. If you want to play devil's advocate here, Rendon's a very big-bodied fighter herself. Experience. She may only be 6-1, but she's got a pretty decent level of competition that she's fought. And the other thing is she is Mexican on a Noche UFC card, so the crowd will be most likely behind her, even though the other prospect is necessarily like the more hyped one. So I don't know. It could get ugly, could get greasy, could see a split decision here, and I don't want to. If we're getting a split decision, I do not want to be holding the 19-year-old high-level prospect ticket when the other fighter is Mexican at a Noche card with a mostly Mexican crowd cheering for everything. This fight screams split decision. Alice Pereira is a little young, making her debut. It's more of a watch fight for me, but I mean, she's the clear A side here. If they're trying to set anybody up for success here, it's probably Alice Pereira. So I would expect she probably rolls, probably wins a unanimous decision, but my gut tells me it's more likely split, especially with the line being the way it is. I don't think there's any value here.
Yeah, minus 152 on a decision you don't feel incredibly confident in. It's not a card, like you said. We've been to so many of these where you go to the judges' table and you're holding that minus one, a little bit of chalk, either in a parlay or just straight up, and it's like, oh no, this is just ridden with failure. All right, well, 2-1s to get us started, kind of get the vibes moving on Saturday. We're going to jump into the rest of them now. Alessandro Costa versus Aiden Correa. Correa loses a little bit more of a wider gap here. Plus 310 is Correa here. Costa's minus 420. What are you looking at in this fight in the preliminary round?
So at face value, I was looking at this fight and I was like, it seemed odd to me. It was very wide. 4-1 was it was a little interesting to me. So I was thinking maybe they were bringing this kid in just to kind of lose type of thing. And then you look into this debuting fighter in Correa, and he's pretty good. He's like very good. I think he's definitely UFC level. He's going to have a career here. I don't really think he's being brought in here to be kind of thrown to the wolves here. So I don't really understand the line. I'm thinking maybe the sportsbook doesn't really know him, or the sportsbook doesn't think he has necessarily that much of a chance, considering Costa is almost a UFC veteran at this point. But I mean, I think this fight should probably be like 2-1, maybe 1.5 to 1. I think Correa's a lot better than the books are trying to give him credit for right now. And Costa's not some type of flashy up and coming prospect. He's very inactive. We hardly see him. He fights like once a year, and he has dropped the ball a few times over his career as well. And he's very technical. The striking is very good, but I didn't like the decision loss to Steve Erceg. I felt like that's a fight he could have went out and got. Like, he could have willed his way to that win, and he just kind of crumbled over the course of the fight. It was a bad visual to me. The Amir Albazi fight, he put up a good fight for about a round or two, and then he eventually got chinned, which also showed me that he's not as durable as because that is now the second time he's been knocked out in his career. So it kind of showed me that he's not as durable as most Brazilians and most people at this weight class technically are. Flyweights don't necessarily like live and die by the knockout. There's a high decision percentage in the flyweight division. So I'm a little confused by these odds. I think a great bet, and I might end up getting to the window here. We're recording this a little early, so it might need a few more days, but a lot of sports books, especially Bet Online, our partner, they offer a point spread on fights, which you're basically just buying around on the judges' scorecards. You're just basically saying, if you're taking the underdog, you're saying the favorite's not going to win a unanimous 30-27, basically. And I think the +3.5 on the underdog here, because it's probably going to be plus money. He's already 3.5 to 1 or something like that on the money line. Probably going to get the spread at like +150, +200. I think that's a great bet. All your betting is really for him to put up a good fight and pick up one round on the judges' scorecards. And I think that's a great bet here, because I think Alessandro Costa is going to slow down as the fight goes on, no matter what, unless he can get Correa out of here like quick. I don't see that happening. Correa seems very durable. So if he can't get him out of there quick, if this fight gets longer and deeper into the third round here, Costa might crumble in that third round. And if Correa doesn't get him out of there, he's going to end up picking up that round on the judges' scorecard, whether he loses the decision or not. It won't be a 30-27. So I like that +3.5 spread. I think Correa might come in here and impress a lot of people.
And as you mentioned, we're recording this on September 11th right now, so we've got a couple days until the card on Saturday. So be sure to tune in with Trizzy. Follow him on social media at Trizzy_bets, and you can pay attention as well at bettingnews.com for his free writing and analysis about his bets that he will have on the fight. So some of these and some of the analysis that you're hearing may not be official bets or anything like that. Trizzy is usually pretty good about laying out what he's actually got money on right now. But as you mentioned, and I mean, you do this a lot with these cards. Sometimes you got to wait until after weigh-ins. You got to wait until after the day of. You see a lot of crazy line movement on the day of these big events, especially even though this isn't a pay-per-view. You know, there's a lot of eyeballs on this one. So there's going to be a large amount of money, I would imagine, coming in on this stuff Friday night into Saturday morning. So be sure to follow Triz, like I said, on social media. Follow us at Your Betting News. Give us a follow as well, and watch us on Saturday mornings. And Trizzy will give you kind of the live breakdown of what we're looking at from in a couple of days what these lines look like. But I like that +3.5, especially if you can get some plus chicky on that too. That feels like a good spot there. All right, dude, let's keep it going. Let's roll through the rest of the preliminary rounds. We got Zachary Reese versus Cedriques Dumas. Dumas +190. A little bit of a closer line here on this one as well. -240 is Reese. What are we seeing between these two guys?
This fight's a mess. This is a mid off. It's a disaster in my opinion. So Dumas, I don't know how like in it Dumas really is. I don't know how much he's training necessarily. He's on like house arrest. That's why he took a fight a couple of months ago and then couldn't actually make the fight on short notice.
That guy. Yeah,
because he had an ankle monitor on. I don't know exactly how like dedicated to the game of mixed martial arts he really is at this point in his career. And Zachary Reese, I mean, say what you will about him, but he's making advancements in his game. He's going and he trains at a real gym now. I see him posting on Instagram at Extreme Couture. That's a great gym. I mean, he's going to find some of the best looks at that gym, trying to improve, like kind of living like a professional MMA fighter, so to say, where Cedric Dumas is. I don't know where his head's at in this point of the game. I mean, Zach Reese is a guy that's going to charge forward. And from what I've seen of Dumas in his career in the UFC, he does very bad when he's moving backwards. When he's moving backwards is where he's getting finished. This is where he's getting finished. If he's not the one, the able to be the aggressor in the fight and dictate the pace, pin his opponent up against the cage in certain aspects, kind of hit the angles. If he's moving backwards, he gets pressured to fold in certain aspects. Josh Fremd, the guy that I think he was cut from the UFC. He didn't have a winning record in the UFC. He was like 1-5 or 2-5 or something like that. That guy finished Cedric Dumas by pushing him against the cage, being the aggressor in the fight. Mikhail Olazechek finished Cedric Dumas by being the aggressor, haunting him, stalking him, eventually finding the knockout punch. And even Ruzaboev, that was a little bit of an early stoppage, so to say. You can make somewhat of an argument there, but Ruzaboev did the exact same thing. He marched across the octagon, put Dumas on his back foot, and ended up finding the kill shot. That's what Zach Reese does in every single fight. That's his game. He wants to charge forward. He wants to wing big punches, and he lands a lot of those big punches. I tend to think he probably will do it here. To play devil's advocate, Reese's biggest weakness, I would say, be his takedown defense. He gets taken down a lot, and when he is on the ground, he doesn't shell up the best. He's very susceptible to ground and pound. It seems like every time he's receiving ground and pound, it's devastating, and he's been put out a few times like that. He just doesn't really know how. I don't know if he doesn't know how to squirm. Maybe it's the adrenaline. I don't really know, but he tends to take some really brutal ground and pound. And Cedric Dumas has won fights in the UFC by just taking his opponent down and laying on them. He did that in his last win against the Russian guy. Denis Tululin, or I can't say his last name, Tululin or whatever. He took him down for 2 rounds, laid on him, wasn't able to do much damage, but controlled the round, which, I mean, he could very well do against Zach Reese. But I don't think Dumas has the highest fight IQ out there. I don't think he's going to go in there and know exactly what he needs to do to win and take that path. I think if Zach Reese starts putting him in a corner here, he's gonna, it'll start being fight or flight at that point. And from what we've seen in Dumas's career, it's more flight than it is fight. So I think the Reese line kind of makes sense here. I've seen a lot of people on the KO, but I low key think that the submission is live for Zachary Reese here, in a lot of different ways. I think Cedric Dumas, being as low fight IQ as he is, if he does get one of those takedowns, I think he could stick himself in something that you
put
can't
his head
really
where it
get
don't
out
belong,
of.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Or put his arm or his leg, or Reese is kind of slick like that. He's got decent BJJ. He has submission wins in the UFC over good opponents. And for some reason, and just seeing the drive and the ambition of Dumas in the ring and how quick he's been to kind of shell up and give up in TKO instances, I kind of have a feeling if he gets caught in something and it's pretty tight, I don't think he's fighting too hard. He's probably just going to hit that little tap button. So I really like the submission in that fight. I probably have a little sprinkle on that.
Let's go. Dumas is going to be a dumbass. I've been waiting to say that since we started. The mid-off to carry us through the rest of the preliminary rounds. A couple more fights to get to. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go to Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Jarul. Minus 215 is Jarul. Aguilar plus 172. What are you kind of looking at in this one? Another close line here. We seeing something a little less of a mid-off though, eh?
Yeah, a little less than mid-off. So Garul kind of dropped the ball on his last fight. He ended up being KO'd by Ode Osborne, but I don't really think that's a bad loss. That was his UFC debut. Ode Osborne, UFC veteran, massive body for the division, 5'9" flyweight. You don't see that ever. He's a really big body and he has a lot of power. He just kind of got caught. It happens. This is mixed martial arts. These guys are beating the shit out of each other. Sometimes you think you can take this punch that you've taken 100 times, and that 101st time it puts you out. It's just kind of the game they play. So, and I don't necessarily hold that loss against him too much, and especially in a matchup against Jesus Aguilar, who he's going to have a significant size advantage over her. Aguiar is like one of those fighters that if the UFC had a 115-pound men's division, he could probably make that weight. And like he's rather small. He has one of the shortest reaches in the UFC. He's more so a guy. He has knockouts in the UFC, but like he's more of a guy that needs you to move forward and be the aggressor in order to find that sort of knockout because of his reach disadvantage. And Garul's not going to do that. Garul's a great wrestler. Garul's going to end up taking him down, I would assume, because Aguiar is a guy that will be taken down and would almost like prefer to be taken down in certain ways. He's got a crazy front guillotine choke. He has a bunch of wins by that front guillotine choke. It's if you go and you look through his resume, it's interesting how many like rear naked front guillotine chokes he's like actually like successfully won with. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of people just kind of throw those up and like pray for the best. Sometimes you get it once, or like Dustin Poirier has the whole thing, don't be silly, pull the gilly, but this guy's actually finishing at one point in his career he had 4 in a row. 4 guillotine chokes in a row. And I just don't think you're going to be able to pull that off against a guy like Garul, who has, 1, a bald head. 2, once they start, he doesn't necessarily have a neck to begin with. He's one of those shorter, stockier. I'm doing this, but my neck's kind of the same way. Yeah, he doesn't really have much of a neck to grab onto to begin with. And then on top of that, you add his bald head. Once these guys start sweating, he's going to be able to pop right out of that 9 times out of 10, almost 10 times out of 10 every single time. If Garul's on top, he's probably going to end up landing some pretty mean ground and pound here. I think he's the rightful favorite. I think he's going to probably bounce back in a big way. I know Aguiar is the Mexican prospect in the situation. It is UFC Noche. But I mean, if you take a look at Luis Garul, like you can kind of put 2 and 2 together here. Like, okay, he might be from America, but he definitely has Mexican heritage. You know what I mean? Like you can definitely put 2 and 2 together there. So I wouldn't say one's more of a Mexican prospect than the other, if we're being honest. So I think Garul's going to roll here, bounce back in a big way.
Garul's going to rule. Let's go. All right, let's keep it rolling. A couple more preliminary fights to get to before we get to the main event. Going back to the ladies here, Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Lemos, pretty heavy underdog. They're plus 320. Suarez minus 430. Do you think that it's going to be a little closer than that, or is it appropriately priced?
No, it's very appropriately priced. It'll very appropriately. I mean, Suarez cannot strike. If these women start meeting in the middle, it's going to get real scary, really fast. Suarez cannot strike, and Lemos throws like a man, like genuinely. Like she just throws heavy, all caution to the wind, and especially against a woman like Suarez, where she doesn't have to be worried about anything coming back her way other than a takedown. She's just going to be winging even bigger than she normally does. I don't think Suarez is going to have much of a problem getting her down, though. It's just more of I think this fight's going to get really interesting if Suarez can't submit her and this gets extended into the 3rd round. If this gets extended into the 3rd round and Suarez can't get a takedown in the 3rd round, I mean, Lemos is very live for a 3rd round finish. Even if she gets 10-8'd in the 1st round and the 2nd round, she's down 4 rounds going into the 3rd round. Still think she's very live for a finish in that round. If Suarez cannot secure a takedown in that round, it's going to get real ugly really fast. What I will say is, doing these pieces I put out for Betting News, my odds piece, I was looking at these lines. I saw these lines Sunday night into Monday morning. And Monday morning is when our partner Bet Online likes to drop the method of victory props. And what I did notice is when all of these method of victory props dropped, Suarez by submission was plus 185, I believe, plus 185, plus 190, and the decision was plus 160. And now, give it 3 or 4 days later, the submission is now plus 140 or plus 130 or something way down there. And the decision line is still sitting at plus 165. So I think that's a little interesting to me. I might have a bet on Suarez by decision here, but like I said, if I actually put a full unit on that bet, I promise all of our viewers, my butthole will be this tight watching the 3rd round of that fight. I promise it. It's going to get real sweaty.
We've seen it with these fighters, man. I mean, in the men's division too, there's been lots of situations where if these grapplers don't get them the job done in the first 2 rounds, especially with some big hitters, you got to look out, man, because it only takes one good pop in that third round, like you mentioned. Even then, that applies even more sometimes with these ladies with those big pops. So, yeah, who knows? Plus 310 could be, or thrust 320 could be some fun little sprinkle if you wanted to go that direction. It's probably going to be a donation based upon the talent level you're talking about here, but who knows? You fuck around a little bit. You don't get her down in the first 2, like you said. I don't know. Maybe she lands a big one late. So,
I mean, 34-year-old fighter coming off a title fight against Wei Li where she got her ass beat. You never know. Yeah, career can go one or two ways here. Definitely can go one or two ways here. Suarez is such a high-level grappler. I have to side with her. But like I said, if this makes it to the third round, this is going to be sweaty. If anybody is watching this fight live or whatever, if anybody wants a free little live bet sweat, like a little sprinkle here, sprinkle there, if Suarez has her way with Lemos for the first 2 rounds, she's probably going to be minus 2,000 going into the third round or whatever. Sprinkle a few bucks on Lemos and smile as she starts beating the shit out of Suarez, and it gets later and later and later, and Suarez can't land the takedown, and she's starting to get teed off on. I think it could be interesting. It's probably going to be a great fight, but Suarez's grappling ability is just next level. So, and Lemos struggles with the takedowns.
Well, it should be pretty straightforward then. But as you mentioned, maybe a tiny bit of fun. A couple more fights in the preliminary round to keep us rocking. Joaquim Silva versus Claudio Puelles. I want to say Puelles because it's 2 L's, but it's Puelles. This is a pick 'em, man. Silva minus 110, Puelles minus 110. What are we feeling here? Value on both sides.
Yeah, value on both sides. I kind of see why it is a pick 'em. You know, a lot of the last memories that UFC fans have of Puelles is him butt scooting around the octagon, getting his ass kicked by Dan Hooker. So he could not do anything. Yeah, not good optics. Could not do anything in that fight. Was trying his best to try to get him down. He seems kind of like a one-trick pony, in my opinion. He has this crazy knee bar finish. He's finished a few high-level fighters with that knee bar finish. But, I mean, it seems like really if you kind of avoid that knee bar, he doesn't really have much for you on the ground. I mean, on the feet, he's not the best striker by any means. He kind of seems very timid with striking. One of those guys that doesn't want to be punched at all, even though he's in a fight. So a little shaky for me on the minus 110 side there. I see more value on this Joaquim Silva. He is always kind of looked like he is chiseled. He has a steady diet of those Brazilian vitamins, and he just comes in looking like in unreal shape for a 35-year-old. And I don't know what the hell they put in the water down there, but these guys are coming in looking crazy and very aggressive. He's put on some great fights. I mean, he has a tough resume here. Drakkar Klose, Arman Sarukian, Nazareth Hakparas. He's fought some great fighters and the close fights too, like very close fights. I would say he was putting up I believe he dropped Arman Sarukian before he was finished by him. I think he was one of the first people to knock down Arman Sarukian, and it was big punch. So when a guy that holds that much power, I mean, again, he's like very, very chiseled. I don't see he's like built, he's strong for the weight class. I don't really see how Puelles gets him down. And even if he tries to grab at a leg and drag him down that way, trying to use the knee bar as like a takedown method in certain ways. I've seen him do it in the octagon before. I just don't see Silva kind of falling for that. I don't believe Silva is a black belt, but he's a guy that's trained jiu-jitsu his whole life. He's fought very good jiu-jitsu guys in the UFC before, and if Puelles isn't getting the takedown here, like how does he win? He's not going to outstrike Silva for 3 rounds. It's not going to happen. I don't think he can take Silva's strikes for 3 rounds. I don't think he can take Silva's strikes for 2 rounds. So I think there's a lot of value on the minus 110 of Silva here. I think he's just probably the better all-around MMA fighter. I think the only advantage Puelles is probably in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. But again, I don't exactly know the level of that. He seems very slick in certain areas, but I mean, you don't see this guy going out and getting a variety of different submissions in like a variety of different situations. It's kind of the same one. He seems like a one-trick pony to me. I don't necessarily think Puelles is on UFC MMA level. The UFC has this new Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu league that they started, and I think maybe that might be more of Puelles' jam. And maybe after this fight and taking some damage from Silva, he makes that career change.
Well, like you said, you've got value on both sides as we sit here on Thursday. So maybe this line moves one way or the other. If you're listening in, you can lock in a -110 and see how that line moves between now and Saturday, and find out if Joaquim Silva with the vitamins is going to make a difference on this preliminary card. All right, dude, let's go to the featured prelim. Jose Daniel Medina versus Dusko Todorovic. Todorovic, not really a very interesting line here. -130, -130, 340. Is Todorovic. Medina +260, so pretty wide line there. What are we seeing in the feature prelim?
Man, I'm taking the dog.
Oh,
I'm taking the dog. Wow. I'm taking the dog. Todorovic cannot be trusted at 3-1 odds. That is crazy. Not in this economy. Not in this economy. This is a guy that's notoriously injury plagued, notoriously does not have the best chin, like by any means. And Medina's a guy that you need a sledgehammer to go in there and really knock him out. Atiba Gauthier knocked him out, but again, he's got sledgehammers attached to his arms, so like that, it's a little bit different with that, in my opinion. That's not like really a knockout loss you can really hold against him. So this is a guy that can take a beating, and he seems to get stronger as the fight goes on. So against a guy like Todorovic, and especially in his last fight, Todorovic's last fight, I believe, against Zachary Reese, went to decision. He looked like shit after the second round, after the third. Both of them looked like shit, if we're being really honest. But like, he really looked like shit, and like just so slow and lethargic, and no cardio left, no gas left in the tank, just kind of throwing with just sheer will. And a guy like Medina in the third round, in the early third round, even though these are some of the bigger boys, he's going to be there. He's going to be throwing that jab out there, that stiff jab. He's going to be talking shit. He's going to be smiling, no matter if he's bleeding, if he's not bleeding. This is a guy that kind of plays to the crowd a little bit. He even against Gauthier, he was kind of talking shit as he's getting rocked by huge punches, and is smiling, like throwing his fist up for the crowd and stuff. I could just see that happening here. Todorovic's only path to victory is maybe if he chases takedowns and chains takedowns together. But again, we're going back to his cardio. He's not doing that for 3 rounds. I don't think he has that in him. Medina's going to be able to stand up eventually, and once he does, I think he can take over this fight. I think he's got a very good jab. He's got great boxing. He knows how to move. He sticks and moves. You get on his bike and circle his opponent, and I think again, going back to Todorovic's injury history, he doesn't move the best. His knees, been blown out multiple times within the UFC. It's just, he's kind of stiff, Frankenstein-like. And I think, again, if he's not able to land these takedowns, I think Medina's genuinely could just jab in a circle and really just kind of over time just outpoint Todorovic. And then by the end, Todorovic's face is all busted up because he's eaten 100 jabs, or it's something of that nature. So I like the 4-1 dog here. I probably, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the sports books know something, and that's why he's a 4-1 dog. I do not trust Todorovic on a 0-3 run, 1-4 in his last 5 to cover 4-1 odds over a guy in Medina, which, I mean, he's riding a 3-fight losing streak too, but again, like he fought Zach Reese, he fought Atiba Gauthier, Magomed Gadzhazulov, like that, 3 solid fighters, like very solid fighters, and took 2 of them to decision. One, and again, the Zach Reese fight was interesting for a second there, really interesting, great third round, exactly where I'm getting at here. So I think 4-1 odds, there's so much value there. He's not Mexican, so to say. I believe he's from Bolivia, which, like, little further, but
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. I just like the 4-1 dog. The line is too wide, in my opinion. Way too wide.
Yeah.
It's one of those pump fakes to me. Makes me feel like the books are like trying to get you to think that Todorovic is a safe money line piece when that is
Yeah.
never the case. Like
100%.
ever.
Especially in the featured prelim. You could see Todorovic being one of those parlay busters, possibly. So we shall see if that's the. I did not expect you to say that. Wow. All right. Love to see it, man. Well, that's the end of the preliminary round. Stick around for just a minute. We are going to jump into the main event that we are going to see this Saturday in San Antonio. All right. Hope you guys are enjoying the Violence Report, talking about UFC Noche. Like I said, if this is your first time hanging out with us right here on YouTube on the Betting News Network, give us a like and subscribe. We go live every single week. We go live every single day. This show goes live usually every single week, giving you guys the move for Trizzy's analysis in the UFC card. And you can check out all of his analysis, like I said, at bettingnews.com. Also, give him a follow at Trizzy_bets on Twitter. Go follow me as well at SweatPantJesus if you guys like the vibes and what we're doing around here. All right, dude, real quick before we jump into the main card. This is going to be fun. Obviously, Lopes and Silva, we'll talk about that a lot near the end. What's one fight before we jump into the whole thing that really has your attention to kind of tee us up a little bit?
On the main card, you're saying?
On the main card, yeah.
So I personally think all right, so I'll talk about two. I'm excited because I think Kelvin Gastelum is getting laid a softball for the first time in a long time. And I think Gastelum's going to shine in his fight. We'll get there, but I'll break that down. I think Gastelum's going to get a finish. That's going to be very exciting. Looking for that. We're looking forward to that one. But a low-key banger on this main card, kind of being brushed over a little bit. Jared Gordon and Rafa Garcia. I think that is going to be a banger, a war. These guys are going to meet in the middle and throw. Back and forth type of thing. I think that's going to be a bloody war, and I'm excited for that one. Honestly, I don't even think I'm going to bet that one just because I kind of have a feeling of what we're going into, and I just want to enjoy it as a fan type of thing.
Hell yeah. Well, those two fights are the next up. Let's start with the lady fight to kick off the main card, and then we'll jump into the two you just mentioned. Actually, not a lady fight, my bad. Quang Lee versus Santiago Luna. I got my notes kind of confused. Luna minus 134, Quang Lee plus 110. So a nice little close line to get us rolling on the main event. I know you kind of teed up the other two fights, but are you looking forward to this one? What you thinking here?
So this one is interesting matchup to me. I think this it's like the matchmaking here is it's a short notice opportunity. I will note that Quang Lee was actually supposed to fight David Martinez, who's fighting in the co-main event of this card. Mm-hmm. Both of their opponents pulled out, so they kind of did some shuffling and blah blah. Quang Lee ended up getting this opponent. From what I saw on tape, Luna is very good. Like, he's gonna be probably something. He's not fighting the best competition, but he is solid. Like, you can just tell when somebody has the skills, like to get into that UFC level, like there's just a difference, when you're watching. Some of these guys are like very sloppy and so to say, and they have to like kind of hone in over the course, and maybe they get to the UFC too early. They're still very sloppy. This kid's sharp in 21 or the 22. He has 6 fights under his belt. Again, has never fought anybody really notable. And again, here he is stepping in right onto the main card of UFC of Noche UFC as a Mexican fighter. I have this odd feeling that the UFC kind of knows what they're doing here in certain aspects. They might know something about Luna that the general public doesn't. To give him this opportunity, Quang Lee riding high off of a great finish. I believe, I don't know if we had a violence report for the last time he fought, but I do know we were on the submission and it was really wide, and he came through for us. He cashed that submission for us over Gaston Bolanos. Looked great in that fight. Kind of coming off a high note here after 2 back-to-back losses. So did show he was a little chinny against Long Zhao. Long Zhao is not a guy that's really like a knockout machine. I just lost a decision in Shanghai as well. Like, he's not a high level fighter, and he was and Lee was able to get knocked out by him. So again, I kind of think They know what they're doing here. Lee he showed off pretty good offensive grappling in his last fight, but from what I've seen, he doesn't deal with takedowns well. Like, he doesn't have the best defensive grappling. He's been taken down, and when he is taken down, he's kind of controlled a little bit. And again, Luna's not fighting the highest level of competition, but it looks like he's got those skills. And he would be able to throw out a takedown, to throw out the threat of a takedown. And he's got some solid hands behind him to really like solidify that threat. So you don't really know what's coming with him. Really young.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
I was just going to say, really young, early in his career, debut under the very, very bright lights. Could drop the ball here, but again, something is telling me the UFC knows something about Luna that the general betting public doesn't, especially the sportsbook even have him as a favorite, minus 130 or something. I as a 6-0 debutante fighter that has never fought anybody with more than 4 wins, there's got to be something there, in my opinion. They always know what they're doing, and which is why they open a new sports book every year, and the lights in Vegas get brighter every year, and they add another TV here and there. It's for stuff like this where they know a little something. So minus 135 come to me on the debutante with, again, 6-0, very little UFC, very little fighting experience in general, very little fight cage time in general. They might know something that we don't here. I think Quang Lee might be in for a rude awakening, thinking he's going to teach somebody a lesson here, but he might get served in the end. So,
yeah, nice value you're getting there too. I'm sure you're probably going to have some beans on this fight when we get to Saturday as well, depending on how this line might flip around between now and Saturday morning. So, all right, let's go to these 2 fights you just mentioned that you're looking forward to in this one. Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus. Stoltzfus plus 210. You're getting not really great money line value necessarily unless you want a bozo packet for Gastelum minus 265, but you kind of teed it up that you're looking at the sub here. What are we looking at in this fight?
I'm looking at the KO. I think Gastelum is going to put Dustin Stoltzfus lights out. I think this is going to be one of the best showings we've seen of Kelvin Gastelum in years. They're finally giving him a step down in competition. He's a level below Joe Pyfer and Sean Brady and Murderers Row. He's been fighting since 2015, 2016. They're throwing him a little softball here, especially for dealing with the Joe Pyfer pullout. Joe Pyfer pulled out in Mexico. Then they fight again, and Gastelum loses the fight. And I think the UFC doesn't owe anybody, but they like to do a favor or two here or there. And I think they might do a favor for Gastelum. They're kind of serving up to Stoltzfus on a silver platter. I don't know if Stoltzfus is going to try to wrestle here. Kelvin Gastelum, great wrestler, the collegiate wrestler, I believe, Division I collegiate wrestler, I believe. Always had great wrestling throughout his entire career. He's wrestling better at welterweight than it is at middleweight, but he's fought at middleweight his whole career, and that's where he showed the great wrestling to begin with. So I think he's going to have no problem here with Stoltzfus as far as the wrestling goes. And if he's able to kind of shrug off the takedown offense of Stoltzfus, I don't think Stoltzfus has anything on the feet for Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum's a great boxer, dirty boxer, Mexican boxer. He's going to get on the inside, make this fight dirty. And once he does, he's going to find that shin. And I think there's a reason here that the decision of Kelvin Gastelum by decision is plus 150. Wow. I can't tell you the last time he has a finish. It's always decision, and they're actually giving you big plus money on the decision. He fought Daniel Rodriguez not too long ago, and that's another fight that he could have gotten the KO in and decision win. And I'm willing to bet you in that fight, the decision line was probably minus 110, minus 120, because that's always his most likely method of victory. Decision. Chris Curtis, decision. I think his last knockout was in 2017 over Michael Bisping.
Wow.
Michael Bisping was his last knockout, 2017. Again, so due. I'll be on the KO here for sure, 100%. Wow. This is a softball for him. He should roll. Maybe I'm wrong on the KO. That money line should cash with ease. I really think this is a big spot for Kelvin Gastelum.
If I know you, this money line will be in a bozo pack, I would assume. Yeah, probably.
I think the bozo pack is actually Garul and Gastelum. I think that's going to be the bozo pack this weekend.
All right, the 2 Gs. There you go. All right, dude. Let's get it to the last 3 fights of the main event, and let's go to the next fight you're looking forward to. Another one, Rafa Garcia versus Jared Gordon. Like you were talking about a little bit earlier, should be a fun one. Minus 240 is Jared Gordon on the money line. Rafa Garcia plus 190. Thinking the dog got some bark here. What are we thinking?
I do like the dog. I like the dog more than I should like the dog. That's what I will say. I really like the dog. Rafa Garcia he's a Mexican prospect, and he's really slick. He's really fast. He's great on the feet. He has a problem getting held against the cage, which Jared Gordon is pretty good at. Jared Gordon's a pretty good wrestler. He's pretty good grappler. He's great in the clinch, which I think is probably what he's going to try to do here. But, I mean, if Rafa Garcia can find space here, these guys are going to throw. And once these guys are throwing, there's only one of the two that I know has a weak chin, and that's Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon has been knocked out plenty of times. Even if one was taken off his record because of a headbutt, I don't care. He was still knocked out cold. I watched it. I saw it happen. He was sleeping on the canvas. So, you can't erase that. He was still knocked out. And Garcia's not a guy that really holds finishing power. Trust me. Take it from me. I'm on his inside the distance every other time he fights. Never cashes. But this is one of those ones where I'm probably going to be on it again. I will probably be taking it again. I'll probably take Rafa Garcia by KO. Just nice little sprinkle, Mexican prospect. I think I like the underdog spot here. Jared Gordon's on a little streak here, a little late career resurgence. And if you go through, he lost to Paddy Pimblett, but he won against Paddy Pimblett. Then you have the headbutt with Bobby Green where he got knocked out, but it was a headbutt, so it wasn't a loss, and blah, blah, blah. But he's quietly won his other 3 fights, and I kind of look good doing it, whereas Rafa Garcia hasn't really shined, especially in his last fight against Vince Pichel, where Vince Pichel was trying to get him to engage in the 3rd round. It didn't look the best. And then you go back against his fight against Grant Dawson, where Grant Dawson was just able to get him to the ground and kind of pound him out. And I don't necessarily think Gordon has the wrestling to do exactly what Grant Dawson did. Grant Dawson's very skilled in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu side of things, where Gordon's just more so of an American wrestler style. So I think Dawson added a layer that Gordon doesn't have as far as danger presented to Garcia here. So I like the dog. It's one of those. I feel like the dogs I've liked on this card are Spanish or Mexican, but this is one of them ones where Gordon is 37 years old. Rafa Garcia is 31. He has a pretty decent age discrepancy here. Fight miles discrepancy, severe fight miles discrepancy. Like we were mentioning, I've seen Gordon knocked out a lot. I think he's got 3 or 4 knockouts now. And again, I think the dog's got a very good chance here, especially with the crowd behind him. Because, like I said, big Mexican star. So if the crowd behind him every time he lands, they're going to be screaming. If this goes to decision, I want a Rafa Garcia ticket. And even if it doesn't, I think Garcia has probably a higher chance than he's had in a while to finish this fight. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting 2-to-1 value, like you mentioned. If you want, if that's going to decision, you want the 2-to-1 in your pocket versus the minus 240 that you're staring at right now. So it makes a lot of sense.
And I should touch on this as well. Jared Gordon wears damage very bad. He just every time he's in a big striking battle, his eyes are busted up. He's bleeding. His nose is always he breaks his nose in every other fight. So I think optics wise, this could get very interesting too. Even if Rafa Garcia really gets grapple fucked for the first full round or whatever, and even into the 2nd round, but then he breaks away, he starts busting up Jared Gordon a little bit. I think the judges might look at it a little different if Gordon is bleeding profusely going into the judges' scorecards and Rafa Garcia is pretty clean. So again, I like the Mexican underdog here.
Let's go. All right, man. Last 2. Last two fights to get to. Rob Font versus David Martinez. Pretty close line here. Rob Font a little bit of a favorite, minus 124 with David Martinez at plus 102. What are you kind of looking at here? Do you like the dog in this situation as well, or are we feeling a little more on the Font side?
I do. I should.
Dog again.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
wow.
I like the dog again. I like
Wow.
and some tells me that Rob Font's going to do Rob Font things and take him down and like grind him out and show him a veteran lesson. But this kid Martinez is exciting, man. His striking is so slick. Like every time I think he's gonna outpoint somebody and take him to decision or whatever, he lands a big punch and knocks him out. And so it's like, I think this guy's really good. Font has a chin made of steel, so I don't know if he's going to find the finish in this matchup. But I think if Font's not taking him down consistently, Martinez has a very, very wide speed advantage in this matchup as far as striking goes. I think he's going to end up punching Font 3 to 4 times to Font's 1 return. And if you want to even go further on the striking and striking skills, Font's just really got a good jab. It's like his best weapon, in my opinion. I mean, maybe a good right, but it's usually set up by his jab. And I don't think he's fooling David Martinez with a jab. He's not going to be able to consistently pump out a jab against David Martinez and outpoint him to a decision. Martinez is going to be countering that jab a lot. And when he does, I fully expect him to find Font's chin and put some damage on Font. And I think this fight, if this fight goes long, which I mean, you want to go by the odds of the total and X, Y, and Z. I think the damage is definitely going to be on the Martinez side. That's for damn sure. Font is another guy that does not wear damage well because he's been busted open and worn damage for so long and for so many different fights. Especially in a matchup like this, if Rob Font can't take him down and like really hold him there for 15 minutes or so, I think he's going to get really busted up. Whether he is landing the takedowns and still getting busted up or not, I still think the judges are going to favor the damage over the control, especially in this type of fight. The other thing, Rob Font hasn't finished anybody since Adrian Yanez way back in the day, and even that was a surprise because he never finishes anybody. And they're giving you his decision line here at plus 110. They're giving you plus money on his decision. Has not moved a cent since Sunday night, Monday morning. We all know how that goes, you know. So there's the rare instance where it does hit. I remember saying that about Carlos Prates and saying, oh, my God, that plus 130, they would never do that. And then he ended up hitting with ease. What needs to be said about that fight card was they got every single underdog up until the Carlos Prates fight. So it didn't even matter. The books were swimming in it that night. I'm sure they had no problem paying Prates KO at plus 130 when no parlay hit the whole night because no favorite won. So like, in a card like this, like I don't think they're giving you Font plus 110 on a decision if he's like the right side. So I think I'm gonna roll with prospect here. I like Martinez. I hope I might get to the betting window. Probably not. Maybe we'll see where the line goes. You know, but
yeah. By Saturday. Also, maybe this could be one, too, because it's the second to last fight on the card. Maybe you're doing pretty well. Things are looking nice. Maybe made some units going into this fight. Want to throw some beans on the plus money dog to sweat out in this one, depending on how things are looking. So, yeah, as always, as you guys are listening to this recording before we jump into the big-time fight, the main event, be sure to look at what you've got on Saturday. A lot of these lines, as we're talking right now on Thursday evening, might have moved by then. So, obviously, maybe apply that information to what you're looking at live whenever you're listening to this. But all right, man, we made it to the end, made it to the main event. I'm super excited to hear you talk about this. Lopes is one of those guys that as more of a UFC, a little bit more of a casual, he is definitely somebody that I enjoy watching. I know we've talked about him quite a few times here on the program. Him and John Silva going head-to-head here on the main card. Silva minus 245, pretty big dog is Lopes here at plus 186. Is the dog going to be barking again, or is this just Silva to the moon? What are we thinking?
I don't like this line. I think this line's off. I don't see what Gene Silva has done necessarily to be a minus 2.5 to 1 favorite over Lopes coming off a title fight. Lopes just lost a title fight 3-2. It's not like he was blown out, Volk pitched a shutout. No, on most scorecards that was a 3-2 fight. So it's like just got edged out. He was this close. He was 1 round from winning the title, and now he's a 2-1 dog against Gene Silva. Like, what are we doing here? You know, I think it's a little too wide. I think Silva does carry some big power, and Lopes is very hittable, which may be why the line is where it's at. But I've watched Gene Silva from his Contender Series fight. I remember in his Contender Series fight, him having trouble striking with Kevin Vallejo, and he ended up taking him down, and that's how he won his Contender Series fight. He grinded him out, took him down, wore him down, grinded him out. I think it's very possible here. Maybe that's why he's a 2.5 to 1 favorite, because he's going to take down Lopes, avoid all the submissions. Because again, Lopes is one of those rare grappling prodigies. He's like a coral belt or something. He's above a black belt, very rare in the game of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So he's going to have to avoid a lot of slick submission attempts. Maybe he does, but for some reason, I just don't see them striking for 25 minutes here. I don't think that's going to benefit either of them. I mean, Lopes, that might be Lopes' biggest upside, I guess, if he kind of just overwhelms Silva and kind of just brawls it out, throws 6-7 punch combination type things. But I don't see Silva being pushed back like that. He's probably going to plant his feet and throw at that point, which then doesn't favor Lopes very much, because Lopes is a guy that gets touched up a lot when striking. So I hate to say it because it's the main event and it's one of the biggest fights on the card. I might not have a bet in this fight. I really might not have a bet in this fight. This is something I just really want to see. And this doesn't go towards what we saw last weekend with the Fighting Nerds. I've always thought that if there was 2 Fighting Nerds that were like questionable, it was Rufy. I always thought that, because Rufy, there's no grappling tape of Rufy anywhere. And it's Gene Silva, because I have not forgotten about that Contender Series fight where he was getting touched up by Vallejo and then resorted to wrestling and grappling, and that's how he won. And then he comes to the UFC, and now he's like this overwhelming striker. He's knocking everybody out and blah, blah, blah. Like, I still remember that. I still remember that decision on the Contender Series. So this is going to be a prove it fight for me. And maybe it shouldn't be, because it's technically a number 1 contender fight, and I should know at this point, but I want to take Lopes. I just can't fade Silva. So it's going to be one of those prove it to me type of fights, because I'm not trusting Gene Silva at minus 2.5, 250 or whatever he's up to now. And I think Silva by KO was also plus money, I believe. It was pretty wide. I'm
just
trying to
up here.
Yeah, trying to get our
plus 105 is what I'm looking at right now by KO, TKO.
One of those, we know we love those even money lines, those plus 110 methods on like the most obvious method of victory. Those always hit, it just always hit. I really think here it's either Gene Silva decision or maybe a Lopes submission.
I was going to say Lopes by sub is plus 650. I'm looking at that. That looks tasty based on what you were talking about.
I think Lopes by KO is around there too, right? It's
plus 650.
650 again. That was another thing that scared me off of this fight. All of Lopes's method props are really wide.
Yes.
Like really, really wide. The sub and the KO almost being 7-1. That's like,
yeah, by points or by decision is plus 600 too. So,
it's like
all plus 6-1 or higher.
A little odd. And I don't know. You see 2.5 to 1 dogs on this exact same card where like their KO prop is like also 2.5 to 1 or like 3 to 1. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, a little fishy to me. It's going to be a banger. Obviously going to be a
Sure.
banger of a fight. Very exciting, very entertaining. I'm hoping to just make my money before we get here, and I can just kind of kick my feet up and watch this fight. That's really what I'm hoping for.
As a casual, and I mean, I feel like that this might be the A side just from a betting perspective based on what you just talked about. I'm probably going to put a half unit on Lopes just to
Yeah.
for the plus money. I mean, you know,
Don't
you
blame
might
you.
as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just to sweat something out at the end of this fight.
Mhm.
If Silva gets the job done, fair enough. See you later, half unit. But it's going to be a good one, as you mentioned. Two guys that definitely know what they're doing in there on this main event card. It's going to be fun to watch how things break down here in San Antonio for UFC Noche. Even though this isn't a pay-per-view event, we are getting closer and closer to the transition of not really having pay-per-view events anymore. So maybe this is kind of the sort of the beginning transition of like, it don't matter no more. It's just fighting, you know? So hope you guys enjoyed this video breaking down everything that we're going to see at UFC Noche on Saturday. Trizzy gave you analysis pretty much on every single fight, whether he likes a bet in it or not, or even just giving you guys the moves on how he's looking at each individual line. Feel free to go follow Triz at Trizzy_bets on social media if you're not following over there. Go follow myself as well at Sweatpants Jesus. Go follow all of us at Your Betting News on Twitter and all other social medias as well. Get involved with all of our content for free at bettingnews.com. We break down everything in every single league, and obviously Trizzy gives you all the moves in the MMA and the UFC every single week. We will be live as well on Saturday right here on YouTube or on Twitch if you want to watch us over there. Trizzy will be doing a segment of the Violence Report, probably giving you his best bets on the day and also giving you the full card breakdown for what we're going to see right before the fights get kicked off on Saturday. Great stuff, man. Anything else you want to say before we tap this off?
No, man, it should be an exciting card. I'm hoping to bounce back. I dropped about a unit or two units or something like that last card. It was looking good until it wasn't looking good, but we're going to bounce back this week. We've been locked into these lines. I see a few spots that should just be smash spots. So we'll bounce back, make some money. I don't know, man. I'm excited for another week of Violence Report, bro.
Hell yeah, it's going to be awesome. Like I said, go give us a follow, like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you're watching us over here, it really helps to support the channel. I hope you guys like the content and hope we help you make some money and hope Trizzy puts some money into your pocket watching the UFC. You guys came for the winners and you stayed for the vibes. Have a fantastic day wherever you're listening to this, and we will see you on the next one. Take it easy.
Radiante de felicidad va caminando